集講生活講享受，睇下點樣透過味蕾去享受綠色生活。了解下而家住得舒服有型要符合乜嘢條件？同 Will Fan 傾下偈，聽佢講點樣由曲奇專家變成一個生意人，仲會試整啲獨一無二嘅首飾。素食係近年飲食嘅新趨勢，坊間都越嚟越容易食到唔同嘅素食菜式，當中仲有啲用素嘅食材製作傳統嘅特色中菜，保留菜式嘅原味之餘，又可以配合到素食者嘅需要。我哋成日講環保，其實最簡單嘅方法就係實行以植物為本嘅飲食啦。植物肉、素肉嘅菜式唔單止吸引到素食者，就連普羅大眾都可以更加有興趣試下食素。慢慢改變大家覺得食素或者食齋好沉悶嘅錯覺。要用植物同素肉突破烹飪界限，煮出好味嘅經典中菜菜式，真係幾考大廚嘅創意同烹飪技術㗎。用大豆蛋白製成嘅素魚柳代替真正嘅魚柳，呢度煙燻魚柳唔單止承傳咗原來嘅味道，仲為大家帶嚟唔少新鮮感添。
以前咧，大家就覺得食得是福，日日都大魚大肉。但係近呢幾年咧，越嚟越多人選擇食素喎。咁就算唔係長期茹素咧，都會多菜少肉，又或者一個月揀幾日唔食肉。
冇錯，其實我身邊嘅朋友好幾位咧都開始食素啦，而佢哋咧都嘗試叫我同佢哋食埋一份嘅。不過對我呢啲無肉不歡嘅人嚟講，如果你要我餐餐食菜，就真係有啲寡啦。
Darren， 你咁講就唔啱啦。今時今日嘅素食咧，唔係淨係食菜嘅，同埋新派嘅素食咧有好多種㗎。
好多人食雞肉，貪佢蛋白質豐富。原來作為豆類製品嘅素雞，營養價值都絕對唔差得過真正嘅雞肉㗎。呢個辣子素雞丁加埋腰果、花椒同辣椒一齊煮，充滿傳統川菜風味，非常刺激惹味啊！就咁睇呢個乾炒牛河，同出面食嘅冇乜分別，但係原來大廚將牛肉換咗用小麥蛋白同大豆粉做嘅素牛肉，賣相、味道甚至質感都同真正嘅牛肉冇太大分別，所以好多人都話素牛肉係最好嘅素食入門食物。
Darren， 你知唔知道其實食素咧都有好多好處㗎？因為想食得健康啲咧，就會關注自己食嘅嘢，咁喺過程中就會好自然咁樣了解到食物嘅營養成分㗎啦。
你都講得好啱，因為之前我朋友咧都係講過，佢哋食素嘅理由係因為健康嘅理由啦，同埋咧因為佢哋想為生態環境出一分力，同埋佢哋反對虐待動物。咁所以其實如果呢個角度嚟睇咧，食素亦真係幾有意義㗎。
冬菇通常都係配菜，但係今次大廚就俾冬菇做主角啦。大廚將冬菇邊緣剪成鱔魚嘅長條狀，炸到脆口之後，加埋蜜汁同芝麻。唔好睇小佢材料得冬菇喎，呢味菜口感鬆脆，真係色香味俱全㗎。如果你以為素肉嚟嚟去去都係用大豆製品嚟做，咁就錯啦。好似呢度鮮魷，大廚就用咗椰子肉嚟做㗎。包咗個脆漿，炸到鬆脆之後，再加埋椒鹽炸蒜，呢個椒鹽素鮮魷真係越食越滋味。所以話只要夠創意，素食都可以有無限可能㗎。
Darren， 咁你覺得今餐點咧？
哇，簡直係大開眼界啊！我估唔到嗰啲食材咧係可以咁千變萬化，尤其是係嗰啲肉喎，真係食咗素落肚都唔知啊！
我都話食素可以有好多唔同嘅選擇啦。雖然今餐咧係傳統嘅中菜，不過因為有創新嘅烹調手法，就算用咗植物肉咧，個口感同埋味道都冇影響過，啱晒食素嘅人啦。
係啊，所以而家有咁多選擇咧，就算我呢啲咁嘅食肉獸啊，都冇藉口唔試下素食啦。
你對自己屋企嘅設計有咩要求咧？我就覺得咧，每一個細節都唔可以被忽略嘅。嗱，包括係顏色啊、家私啊、裝飾等等，都會影響我哋嘅心情嘅。咁唔知呢一位對家居設計非常之有經驗嘅人，佢同唔同意我嘅睇法呢？喺房地產業務工作超過17年嘅 Sachin， 因為工作嘅緣故，經常要周圍飛，所以成日都會喺世界唔同嘅地方住。而呢啲體驗亦都令到佢意識到， 對於一啲成日需要周圍飛嘅人嚟講，住嘅地方俾到人一個家嘅感覺係非常之重要嘅。Sachin, you are an expert when it comes to service apartments. I have to ask you, in terms of functionality, how have service apartments transformed over the years?
I think what's happened over the last many years is people want serviced apartments to be more than just a place to sleep. I think generally speaking now people expect a certain level of lifestyle and service out of most of their solutions, whether it's accommodation, whether it's even transport. The reason why certain concepts become so successful is because the service element is much stronger in them. So generally speaking, as sort of the world becomes more, globalized in one way, people become better traveled, the expectations that people have from their home are also changing. And I think serviced apartments have changed in line with that.
Right, now compared to older service apartments, what are some of the new elements that modern service apartments tend to have these days?
The way we approach it, it's about creating the ability and the spaces for people to come together. Gone are the days of coming back home from work and just spending all your time within your apartment or your home. People want to engage with other residents who live within the serviced apartment. So creating spaces that allow people to come together. We're giving people more than just a home. We're giving them a much better lifestyle, which is convenient, which is hassle-free. But at the same time, we give them the ability to be in their private spaces if that's what they choose to do. But if they do want to interact with the broader neighborhood, if they do want to interact with the residents, we create that ability for them to do.
Now, would you say that your background in real estate or your past experiences sort of gave you a broader perspective on what people really want?
Look, I think so. And in my previous careers, I invested across the Asia-Pacific region. And a lot of the times, whether you're looking at Sydney or Singapore or Hong Kong, many people were talking about attracting talent into these cities. They were talking about innovation. But no one was talking about how are people going to afford to live in these cities that happen to be extremely expensive cities when it comes to residential real estate. And at the same time, to create global mobility, you need accommodation that suits globally mobile and internationally minded citizens. So I think that experience obviously has been incredibly helpful, being able to look at real estate from a much more holistic and sort of broader sense. And also being able to view the shifts.
So Sachin, what are some of the new elements or design of your service apartment to make people from other countries living in Hong Kong now, they feel more at home?
Sure. So one thing I would say is when we think about design, we approach it from the user standpoint. Storage, for example, in most apartments in Hong Kong is a big issue. So we've been very thoughtful about where we place the storage, how we use the space to create elements of storage that are user-friendly, but at the same time give a couple ample space, whether it's their shoes or their luggage or their overcoats or whatever it may be, to be in the space. At the end of the day, it's really about making the space as user-friendly as possible, using high-quality materials. So as you live longer in them, they sort of become a part of, I guess, your immediate environment, something that you really get used to and enjoy being in.
Now, you've given us so many great tips, but I want to know what is the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part of my job. When I first started, on this journey, I think the single most challenging thing was changing the customer's mindset. Making our customers understand that good design and great service does not always come at a big cost to them. What was lacking in the market, and the education that we've had to provide to the market and to our target customers as well, is translating that into good value for money for our residents as well, and demonstrating that value for them was probably the hardest part. And the fact that great design, great service is an achievable goal. And it is something that we've made accessible to a much broader target market in Hong Kong.
Well, Sachin, I have to say it's been such a delight talking to you today.
Appreciate that, Marcus.
Thank you very much for spending time with Dolce Vita.
Thank you. It was good to speak to you as well.
生活最好玩嘅地方就係每一樣嘢嘅背後都可以揾到一啲特別嘅故仔嘅，就算係一塊曲奇餅都唔例外。對好多人嚟講，一塊曲奇餅只係一件普通嘅甜點，至多係食落去好開心、好滿足。不過對我呢位朋友嚟講，曲奇餅唔止係一塊餅咁簡單。講到曲奇餅 ，Will Fang 就肯定係專家啦。喺美國長大嘅佢，烘焙食物可以話由細食到大。Will 雖然曾經喺時裝界打滾咗超過10年，但最終都發現自己最愛嘅始終都係烘焙美食，對佢哋嘅熱愛仲有增冇減添。於是佢毅然放棄咗時裝界嘅工作，開展佢嘅曲奇餅事業，而家仲做得有聲有色添。Hi Will, why do you think Hong Kong is a great place to start your business?
I started my business in Hong Kong, I think, because there's such a good opportunity for entrepreneurs, anyone in the sort of creative sector, F&B, to really explore, try to capture like different audiences from tourists to locals to international backgrounds. And because Hong Kong, I guess, is such a melting pot for all these different concepts, it's a really good test, for whether your brand or your product is something that can make it.
Now your specialty is cookies, so why did you decide on cookies? Why not say chocolate or cakes? Why cookies in particular?
So when I moved to Hong Kong, there are actually quite a lot of options for chocolates and cakes, other desserts, but back then cookies, there were probably only a few different shops that you could find cookies at. So I just started making them at home. Being from New York, you could pretty much go to a corner bakery or any delis, and everyone has sort of their own specialty cookies, even baking at home, like when I was a kid. But when I got to Hong Kong, I realized it just wasn't as common. So I just started baking first just for myself, and then eventually I would bring them to work.
So let's take us in the day of your life as a founder. Like, what's your life like when you wake up?
Actually, it's quite different every day. So, I wake up in the morning, check my emails, check my messages. Typically, I'll head to the kitchen, which, my central kitchen's in Wong Chuk Hang. Work with my pastry chefs there. We test new flavors, new products almost every day. Once I get a little cookie testing in.
Tasting testing?
Yeah, a little taste testing, for sure. Move on to sort of some meetings around town. And then I usually wrap up with like a team meeting with my own internal team at the end of the day.
Now, how do you think your American background influences the way you do business here?
I think it actually influences in a lot of different ways. Just my palate. I think everyone sort of understands that the Asian sort of dessert palate is always looking for something like a little bit less sweet, a little bit less decadent. We're totally opposite of that.
The size as well, the American size of it.
Definitely the size. Our cookies are really, really big.
Yeah.
So in this case, size definitely matters. It is almost a whole meal for you. But that's what we want. It's meant to be different. It's meant to sort of disrupt, sort of the dessert and F&B culture a little bit here in Hong Kong. And I think that's why people have taken to it too. It's something different that you can't get everywhere.
Right. Now, what's the most challenging part of doing all that?
I think the challenging part is just continuing to grow the business. My business started sort of organically. I was working in fashion for most of my career. And then the cookie part just sort of happened when I opened a cafe as part of my fashion business. Little did I know the cookie side of things would actually take off much faster than the fashion.
So now you're really all in on the cookies.
Yeah, at the moment. Fashion has sort of taken a back seat. And my daily challenge, I guess, is to figure out how to continue being innovative with selling cookies, creating cookies, finding new recipes.
And what's your philosophy towards your baking business?
You know, for us, I want to bring our customers and everyone in Hong Kong something that they've just never seen before. And so far, that's been the most fun part.
People love it. And now, what do you think the future of the baking business is going to be like?
You know, I think over the last year, we've seen a lot of sort of home bakers come up, a lot of new brands come up, whether it's cakes, cookies, different confectionaries. I think people have really had time this year to sort of stay at home and try to master their craft. It's been really fun, actually, to watch it. I'm really happy that we had a chance to do it and see and really showcase, I guess, like their talents without necessarily having to have your traditional restaurants or pastry or bakeries.
無論你係嚟自咩背景，又或者做緊咩，揾啱自己個目標就要勇往直前。好似 Will 話齋，唔好以為你自己諗嘅嘢好渺小或者好無謂，因為好多時 big dreams 係嚟自 small ideas。
I think a piece of good accessory can tell stories, and that are full of emotions and memories. I like to use jewelry as a medium to express my emotions and my personal experience. I like to use those materials that may seem to be unworthy or unimportant to the other people, but I will always give those materials their own purpose, value, and symbols through the process of designing.
講到珠寶首飾啦，你第一時間會諗到鑽石啊、水晶啊、珍珠呢一啲物料，但係有一種物料咧，你可能冇諗過係可以整成首飾嘅，而呢一種物料咧，分分鐘仲珍貴過寶石。
The reason why I have designed the breast milk jam is because looking my daughter growing up, I think of those tender moments that I didn't appreciate, and I was so eager to look for ways to keep and cherish that precious short-term experience and bond between me and my daughter. Therefore, I came up with this idea of making the breast milk jams, and I hope to freeze the time and capture the snapshot of this experience that I might not be experienced again in the future. And I hope this piece of jewelry can act as a microcosm to recall those memories when both me and my daughter grows older. Breast milk jam is created with the breast milk powder, birthstones, and the corresponding colors. So firstly, we'll be adding the natural formula preservation powder into the breast milk, and we will heat up the mixture while stirring it until the mixture becomes into a solid form. And next, we'll be choosing the colors for the breast milk based on the birthstones and birth color of the mom's, dad, and child's birth months. And lastly, we'll be creating the jams with the high-quality Japanese resin in a silicone mold. Some of the mom might not be breastfeeding anymore, so that they can create the family accessory with the birth jams. And the color combination is created with the combination mixture with birthstones and birth colors. And birthstones is originated from ancient Greece, and birth color is from Japan. They originally have 365 colors representing each day in a year. I think making breast milk jewelry is very meaningful because I feel like my work can provide methods for the families and especially for the moms to keep the most precious and intimate moment with their child. I always encourage to the moms or even to the parents to create the pieces by themselves because I think the making process is actually can recall or trigger those memories that we might forget. And the reason why I have added the birthstones and the birth colors into the design is that I think the breastfeeding journey is not only about the breast milk, but the relationship of the mom, dad, and child. Every single detail in an accessory is very important. Every single detail has its own meaning. For example, the twist ring is representing the connection between the moms and the child mentally and physically. And the sequence of 143 is actually a word play of a word that we as a mom say the most to our child, I love you. I really love the idea of the family accessory because it makes the whole thing more meaningful and memorable. A lot of customers, they buy a set for the mom, dad, and child, so there is an underlying connection created. Even if you don't wear it physically, or if you just look at it, it can still remind you of the love and bond within the family.
母乳飾物就好似影相咁，可以記錄住媽咪同 BB 最寶貴嘅時刻，而且呢啲飾物仲象徵住媽咪對小朋友無條件嘅愛添。
今集嘅節目時間又差唔多啦，想知多啲啱啱介紹過嘅內容，好簡單，上去我哋嘅網頁睇下就得㗎啦。嚟緊繼續黐住我哋，盡情去講生活、講享受。一齊試下嚟自世界各地嘅精緻美食，學下點樣令每一日都過得健康啲、開心啲，仲會跟貼各種潮流資訊，同唔同嘅名人傾下偈，分享佢哋嘅成功之道。想享受人生，就千祈唔好錯過下集嘅節目啦！